Good morning, good evening, or good whatever you are, wherever you're at in the world today. Welcome to the next exciting episode of the Beers of War podcast. I'm Matilda82 or Brandon, and I'm here with
Beer Ninja, Tim.
Sir Bigness, Kevin.
Good. How's everybody been lately? It's been about a month since we did the last episode?
Yep.
So
Thereabouts.
I know we're looking forward to ramping out more content, more episodes more frequently now. So that's in the works. I think our new schedule after today is we're going to do roughly about every 2 weeks.
Yep. Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's the hope.
So
Got a lot to say.
Everybody been doing pretty good lately?
Yeah, I've been doing pretty good. I've been hanging in there, just, regular work grind and, try to get my therapeutic gaming sessions in, of course. And just thinking of other topics for upcoming podcasts and everything. Pretty excited about that. So, yeah, doing pretty good.
I mean, we've been busy doing some behind the scenes work for the podcast, I know, which we'll talk about a little bit later. We've got a merch store now. What was the name of it called? What are we calling it, Tim? Or Kevin? The shirts?
Trash Talk Tees. And if you remember in the 2000s, late 90s, 2000s, they had the N1 tees that kind of had the trash talk about basketball. This is sort of the same thing, except it's gaming related. So if you get an opportunity, we're going to link it to the podcast website. It's a great opportunity for you to check that out and talk a little trash with your controllers. Let them know.
Yeah, and we got Twitter now. We've got Instagram. We've got Facebook page, email address, all kinds of stuff. So, and there's even a actual website being in development now. So, yeah, just pay attention. New stuff rolling out all the time.
We going global, baby.
Hey, we've got an Australian that did listen to the show. We do got one person from the United Kingdom listening. So we can actually officially say we are international.
Yeah,
that's right.
Reach out to more.
Let them know. Let it grow.
So how's everybody? How was everybody's holiday? How'd everything go?
I'll let you take it off, Kevin.
Oh, it was good. It was good. Christmas was kind of a quiet affair. It was, just me and a couple of the kids and opened some presents and, ate. That's my favorite thing about Christmas is actually being able to cook. I obviously, as Sir Bigness, like to cook, love to eat. So it was great. And as far as New Year's, it was a quiet affair too. I was ready to pack 2022 up and get it out of here. Very ready and see what the new beginnings, and this is part of it. This is one of the new beginnings for 2023. Tim?
Yeah.
Well, I had a pretty good holiday season. I got some of the best gifts I always wanted for the holidays, and that was not doing a damn thing. Just staying home, eating a lot of bad food I wasn't supposed to eat, and that was pretty much it. Really wasn't much else I wanted to do. So to me, that was a win in my book for the holidays. So I had a good time. My son and his girlfriend got to come over, and we got to play, hang out with their dog, Frankie, aka Mr. Beefy. He's a pug, so they called him Mr. Beefy from Men in Black. So if I only had like a fraction of that dog's energy, I'd rule the world. I'll just tell you that right now. But yeah, we all had a good time. It was good vacation and everything. Good, I wouldn't call it vacation, good holiday, and looking forward to more.
Yeah, mine went pretty good. It was nice. Started off with we were supposed to get a major snowstorm, but it kind of fizzled out. But the back end of it was the extreme cold weather. Went from like 45 degrees at like 5 o'clock in the afternoon to waking up the next morning with an air temp of -9 with a wind chill of like -50. So yeah, pretty good temperature swing in a 12-hour period roughly. So I ended up, because of the weather and everything, ended up getting a little bit an extra day off for the holiday weekend break. So that was kind of nice, and just kind of stayed around and took it easy for 4 days, and then finished up with all the other rest of the family stuff, and then celebrated the new year.
Sir.
So one of the things we were discussing about was adding a segment called Gaming in the News. Basically, finding a article that involves gaming, but not necessarily talking about a new game or a new console. It's just how the video gaming was incorporated in the story. And the one I found, I'd like to share with you guys, is from NBC News. Michelle Statham, aka Tactical Grandma, has become something of a TikTok sensation and video game streamer. It's an article about a 56-year-old woman who gets on a couple times a week to play Call of Duty on her PC and streams it. And apparently she's gone viral. So, because apparently a lot of the people that actually follow her and play with her and listen to her stream and stuff said it's actually kind of nice to actually hear somebody enjoy playing the game and then at the same time not being toxic or vocal, and kind of more relaxing and calm to make the game actually enjoyable and brings everybody back to earth. Because, you know, getting into those Call of Duty games and those competitive games, you get going and then people are cussing and talking about I did your mom and this and that. And it's just like they said it with her. It's just, is she just there to have fun? But apparently, and she says she's up to 300,000 TikTok followers because one of her videos went viral.
That's pretty cool. Maybe that's maybe that's her thing. She gains your trust at first. She goes in for the kill.
Yeah, those ain't cookies she's trying to give you on the game. Those are grenades. So as I was reading through the article, I noticed an interesting little paragraph. Oh, by the way, I got good credit to the author by Alexandra Marquez of NBC News. So there was a segment in here, and they brought up a little fact. And it says that Statham certainly isn't the only older person playing video games or streaming. AARP, formerly known as American Association of Retired Persons, has found that older people have been embracing gaming, with a 2019 survey finding that 40% of Americans over the age of 50 play at least once a month. That's actually a kind of a shocking stat. I didn't realize it was that high of people over the age of 50 that are still play. I know there's that story's been going around for a while that what is it, that 70-year-old woman that she's probably close to 80 now, but she's been playing Skyrim.
Yeah.
And I know she came out just a couple of months ago telling them she's wanting to see the next Elder Scrolls before she dies so she can play it.
All right, Bethesda, I hope you're listening.
So
there was also a older lady in the Gears of War community too. She was actually part of a crew, some kind of league or something like that. And eventually when I think the Xbox One came out or whatever, one of the higher ups in Xbox actually gave her like the Gears of War edition of it and everything. I was like, that's pretty cool, man. And it's just all walks of life on the gaming platform. That's what I love about it. Brings everybody.
I'm sorry, Tim. This is just another way for people to create connection. You know, and especially, you know, I hate to go back to COVID, but I mean, it shut us in for a long time. The gaming community really was instrumental in getting people, you know, you can get that human interaction, whether it's, you know, good or bad. You can still interact with people, communicate with people, and enjoy your time interacting with people and making friends. That's how this group was formed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, it goes on in that story. It says, though Statham only started streaming a few years ago, she's been playing video games for most of her life. She started with Pong on an Atari that came out in 1972. And she goes, when her and her husband got married, we put the kids to bed because we didn't have money for a babysitter, and we played video games. Statham said it was kind of our date. And then as throughout the year, she developed arthritis in her thumbs, and she couldn't comfortably operate a controller. So her husband was like, "Why don't you get a PC and try playing with a mouse and keyboard?" And then as she got into that, he goes, he actually suggested she get into streaming. And at first she was kind of introverted to stream herself playing. And nobody wanted to watch her stream. Her husband pointed out that if no one was going to watch her, what was the harm in it? Now, less than 2 years later, her daily routine is she's getting up at 7 a.m. most days to prepare for a 9 a.m. stream where she amassed on Facebook over 66,000 followers.
That is dope. That is really dope.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
And she also has she goes by the name of Tactical Grandma, and she actually has merch and stuff like that. And she's collected donations to be able to invest in new streaming equipment and stuff to keep the upgrades. That is kind of cool.
That is very cool. I love that story. I love that people getting involved in gaming that you don't expect, you don't picture as the average gamer.
No, and now it's like you've seen that meme that goes around. And it's like what the nursing homes are going to be like in about 50 years. And you got all these 20-something-year-old kids in the nursing homes playing Call of Duty, calling each other fuckface or shitbag or whatever, and throwing controllers and busting out windows, where today they're in the nursing home watching Matlock and Price is Right and sleeping at 2:00. So yeah, things are going to change. And I noticed you're going to start seeing more and more developers starting to, as our generation and your generation starts getting older, you're going to start seeing them making games more geared towards those type of people.
Yeah. And you could really create, I mean, one of the type of games I love, I'm not really an online player. I'm more of a single player narrative type game, you know, games like Ghost of Tsushima, Mass Effect, Skyrim even. And as such, those games you can really immerse yourself into over a long period of time. And that'd be great for somebody who's, you know, maybe up there in age, kids are gone, you want to do something, get into playing a single player game that you know gives you a different set of experiences.
Well, and I know a lot of the Wii, that's the one little niche market the Nintendo got into, was when they started doing motion controls. Mm-hmm. There are physical therapy labs and stuff that are using Wii games to help with movements and strength. And I know nursing homes, some of the older nursing homes are using those games to keep their nursing homes, retirement homes, keeping their patients mobile by getting them, because granted, a lot of them won't be able to get out, but what's to say they can't take them to the rec room and let them play bowling down there or something, or tennis. So it's just a way to keep people active and going.
I'm going to share a personal memory if y'all don't mind. I apologize, Tim. You go ahead, Cody. One of the last functional memories I have of my mother. We had a Wii. We had she bought a Wii for my nephew, who was 6, 7 at the time, and she loved watching tennis. And she had debilitating arthritis, wasn't really able to walk the last dozen years of her life. And I remember her sitting in her little lift chair, you know, leaned up like this. We gave her the Wii controller. I mean, she couldn't really use her hands much either, but she was playing tennis with the Wii controller, and that was one of the, you know, one of those things that I remember about my mom, how happy she was actually being able to do that.
Yeah, sometimes it's always the little things.
Yeah.
Bringing back to something that they used to be able to do, or just get to enjoy it. To them, it's not necessarily the fact that it may be the fact that getting to do something, but it's actually being able to spend time with their family and enjoying it.
Yes.
Awesome.
So, yeah, Tim, you're right. Hopefully Bethesda will come out with the next Elder Scrolls before the Skyrim grandma passes away.
Yeah. Another thing I noticed too in the gaming industry is I read an article a few years back, and it got children involved. You guys are familiar with the game Minecraft, right?
Yeah.
I'll be honest, that's probably the best $20 I ever spent digitally on Xbox. Yes, we submerge, you know, hours of gameplay and everything. And I saw an article where they had like children were using it as a program to help design, I want to say it was like villages and stuff like that in different countries and everything. So they were actually using it as a blueprint in a way. And that was just to help them get their creative juices flowing, I guess. I'm not exactly sure what the article stated. I'll have to read up on it sometime. But I thought that was just really cool how they could use a video game to put it to that kind of use. It's not just for, personal play or anything, but actually to help a community. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Well, it's like everybody when we were growing up. I mean, when we were all in school and video games were kind of in its infancy stage, but you always hear people, oh, you won't be able to play video games your whole life, blah, blah, blah. There's no value. And now you're getting into games that, I mean, you got games now that require so much reading just to play it. Or
very RPGs.
Yeah. I mean, just different stuff that you didn't think would be possible 20 years ago, that stuff you're learning in school that are going to still be incorporated into games. I mean, you get some of those Japanese anime games, and there's a lot of reading that you're going into and reading into them. And that's part of the appeal, because it's almost a lot of those people, they get to play a game and they get to read basically a comic at the same time. And that's reading. And then you've got games now that they'll throw math puzzles in there, or just different stuff in there as you go on and play different parts of the game. I mean, what game was it? Oh, No Man's Sky. My wife loves playing that game, and she'll go in and you have to go through at certain points. You got to unlock a pod. You've got to be able to figure out a math puzzle. And then she's always calling me for help. And it just drives her crazy, because she'd be like, okay, there's these 3 numbers and you got to figure out what number comes best. And I'll be like, oh, this number here. And within like 2 seconds, she's like, how? And I was like, I just could see the pattern there and I could pick it out. But yeah, I mean, it's just like from what we were dealing with 20, 30 years ago, you're just basically side scrolling because it was 8-bit and you're going from one side of the screen to the other, just jumping or hitting a button and swinging a sword. Now these games are a lot more technical and in depth and require a lot more brain skill to do them. And I know with different stuff, like with the elderly and stuff, even with some of the kids with some learning disabilities, that's some of their treatment plans and stuff they're doing to get these kids to come along as well.
I may be wrong. I mean, I may be wrong about this, but when the Notre Dame Cathedral burned down in France 3, 4, 5 years ago, didn't they use Assassin's Creed, like the model of the Notre Dame Cathedral, to help rebuild it?
I want to say, yeah, I think they did.
I mean, how cool is that?
Because if I'm not mistaken, when they did the game, they've got special permission. They brought special high-tech 3D cameras in to scan everything. And that's how, granted, I haven't played Assassin's Creed in forever, so I don't know how detailed the cathedral was in the game. But yeah, they brought in 3D cameras to scan it, and that's how they were able to render it into the game.
I can't remember which one it was. Was it 2 or was it Brotherhood?
It was Unity, because it was the one in France.
Oh, France. Okay, yeah, you said that's right. You said it. So Unity, yeah, yeah.
Speaking of Assassin's Creed, I saw a little bit of a trailer video for the next one. It's supposed to take place in like 900 Baghdad.
Yeah,
and follow that story.
It's a Mirage.
Mirage.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's actually kind of renew my faith and to get back into playing it.
Yeah, it looked like it from the storyline. It looked pretty interesting.
It does.
I think it takes place with the character who's from Valhalla, and then it kind of ties back to his story before Valhalla.
Awesome.
Yes, that one. Yeah,
he's the one that trained. He's the one that kind of brought Ivor into the Assassin's Guild.
Mm-hmm. I'm just saying that.
Granted, I haven't played much of the Assassin's Creed. I played a lot of the first one and haven't really got much into the other ones. But the historical aspect always intrigued me about that game.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I mean, the stuff that they put in from a game that was from the 10th century, and then the historical aspect of it and everything else, and what the detail they put into those games.
It really is. I mean, I still to this day enjoy watching like video game trailers, and I'll even go back to watch the first Assassin's Creed video game trailer just to kind of see the details. Even though back in those days, that was state of the art graphical beauty that was just going on right there, and it's still fun to watch too, and just kind of like travel to the different countries and everything, kind of get a better idea of it. Like if they would have taught me that's kind of stuff back in my history class, I mean, I'd probably be a professor by now. Who knows? But yeah, I love the Assassin's Creed series, especially the first. I'd say maybe 4 or 5 of them and everything. But Mirage, I think, is going to take me back to the original Assassin's Creed series. I kind of like that because they're kind of getting back into stealth and everything, and that's what I'm really excited to see about.
Yeah, I was watching a podcast last night on YouTube, and after it went off and the live stream stopped, it just auto started a video, and they were just going through upcoming RPG games, and some of them look pretty interesting, and other ones is like, yeah, it's not my cup of tea. But there was a couple of them I didn't even know were even on the radar. I know there's another Dragon Age looking to be coming out too.
Yes.
So I like playing a little bit. I like playing Dragon Age. I like some of that mythical stuff like that. So Kevin, you want to talk about our next topic? Was your brainchild?
Yeah. Well, being that we just left the holiday season and we handed out everyone handed out Christmas presents and all that stuff. We've kind of got a two-parter here. If you're bad, of course, tradition is if you were bad during 2022 or whatever year bad during the year, you'd get a lump of coal for Christmas. And then we're going to take whoever it is that we thought really screwed up 2022 or messed up our 2022, and we're going to give them a lump of coal because that's your reward for sucking this past year. And also, everybody had that one gift, that one thing that you got for Christmas that was like, oh my God, I finally got it. The super gift. And we're going to give that gift. Each one of us is going to discuss or going to talk about the one gift we really loved for Christmas. And we're going to give it to the one person who really stood out in 2022 and made the year something we can remember. So we're gonna start this go around with the lump of coal because bad news first, then the good news. So we're gonna start with Tim. Tim, tell us who gets your lump of coal for 2022.
Oh man, probably a TV show that really. It's kind of a toss-up, and you're probably going to kill me for this. I didn't really enjoy Andor all that much. As a matter of fact, I had to watch somebody on YouTube, a 7-minute video, just to explain to me what in God's name is going on. But I soldier through, and the last 3 episodes started getting very interesting at that point. But it just didn't do anything for me, to be honest with you. So yeah, I would say that'd be kind of like my lump of coal right there. It was either that or the Book of Boba Fett, or if you want to call it the Mandalorian season 2.5 or something. I don't know. So.
Yeah, I've heard mixed. I got to like 1 or 2 episodes into the Boba Fett series, and then we kind of stopped on it. So it wasn't good enough for me to go back to it.
I will go back. I mean, I'll still continue to watch them and everything just to kind of see where they go with the story and whatnot. Because I still believe in the writers that are behind those series, like The Mandalorian, Boba Fett, Andor, all that, even the upcoming ones, that they can really bring the Star Wars universe like really back, kind of bring it back in its place where it belongs, its former glory, if you will. So yeah, I would probably say that'd be around my lump of coal there. And so, what was the other question about?
Well, we're gonna make a lap with the lump of coal and then come back with the cool Christmas present.
Okay, well, that's cool. Yeah, that's it. That's my lump of coal. You can take it as you can. So,
Brandon, what was yours?
I'm gonna kind of go the same along the lines of Tim with the TV series, and I'm gonna have to go with the Halo series. I thought it had potential. And it just I could not get into it. I think I made it like 5 or 6 of the 8 episodes, and I just could not find myself to go back and just finish it. It just did not. It seemed like the first 5 or 6 episodes they could have basically wrapped up in about 2 episodes and been the intro, and then got into the meat and potatoes of the series. But it just seems like they wanted to drag it out for so long, and still at the point, none of the real. It was like it was going to drag it out, and then the last 5 minutes of probably the last episode of the season was going to be the big reveal climax, and then they're just going to leave you hanging for a season 2 that's probably not even remotely going to be considered in the works. But then again, too, you know how movies are. If they get enough people to, if they get enough viewership, they'll do it no matter what. If enough people watch it, no matter what the reviews are. Hold on, I'm checking right now. Paramount had already revealed they would be renewing Halo for a season 2. So there you go. There's going to be a second season of Halo at some point, unless they decide to axe it here in the near future.
Please.
Brandon,
Please,
I never watched it. So like were they not going based off of like source material or anything like that, or?
I was probably be your more unbiased opinion, because to this day I have never played a single second of a Halo game.
Mm-hmm.
I've watched Red versus Blue several times with me and the kids because we think it's hilarious.
Oh yeah.
But I've never played a Halo game. So going off of that, I don't know anything of the background, the lore, or the history of it. And there's a few times where I have to go get online and try to Google a question or like this or that, and it's just like I don't know. You figure, and we talked about this last night. We had a little bit of a pre-meeting. We were talking about the crossover of video games to TVs or movies or whatever, and it just seems like outside of Sonic, the first Sonic movie, I can't think of anything that's really made a crossover that was actually worthwhile. I mean, usually it's better if they take a movie and make it into a video game. Sometimes they're all right, and then sometimes they're the same thing. They bomb and they fail because really that concept of a movie is not made for a video game.
Oh yeah, we all remember the ET Atari 2600 game and how that ended for it.
Ain't they still digging it up out of that landfill?
Probably. So. I took a liberty to go to one of our friends' game shop,
and I happened to find the game, so I'm like, I'm just gonna add that to my my collection there.
Wow.
Yeah, that's pretty good condition too. I don't know if it works, but it's really good. It was spared from the burial ground.
So what you need to do, and there's a thing, I guess there was a movie that came out in the 80s called Nuki. Don't ask me what it's about or anything. I guess they made a documentary out about it, but these guys went around and put advertisements out everywhere and bought every VHS copy of this movie and destroyed it all but one copy. So they could set an artificial value on that movie because we could be considered the only known copy of that movie. But apparently the movie was so terrible, it was just more of they were doing it more, it was like, I think a gag or a joke type thing, but turned into more of a obsession to see if they could actually do something with it. So
that's one way to make a rare video game.
So there you go, Tim. Start buying up all the ET copies out there.
I guess so.
I'm on a mission now.
Oh, yeah.
A friend of mine that I work with, he told me, and this is true, I've Googled it and looked it up. They actually used to make porn games for Atari.
Yep, that they did.
And he actually had found one and bought one because he's kind of like you. He collects more of the older stuff because he's not much into gaming now, but he like the old Atari, Nintendo stuff. He'll see something rare or something that intrigues him, he'll buy it. And we were talking about that, and I didn't believe him at first. I went to go Google it, and yeah, there is adult oriented Atari games.
What do you do? Just make two dots run into each other or something?
Pornographic games.
We'll have to explain it to you off the podcast.
Yeah, probably should. You know, when a man and woman
Let's
love each
see.
other. So my lump of coal, I hate to dogpile on this, but I'm going to follow up what Brandon said. It was definitely the Halo series. We got through one episode. I have played every Halo game, every console release Halo game. There are some that may be for, handheld or something like that maybe I didn't play if they ever made one. But you have this lore, this huge gamut, 7 or 8 games of source material, and that was the best you could do. The graphics, the way the game looked was absolutely wonderful. It was a beautiful series. It was shot wonderful. They rendered the aliens great, the whole 9 yards. But the story was crap. Not only was it not the story of Halo, it was more the story of Mass Effect. So Stacy and I, we got about an episode and a half in. It was like, I'm not watching another second of this. Stacy has never played a Halo game. She's only played like multiplayer with the kids and stuff like that. And she was and she was mad. She was mad because how do you mess this up? This is a video game series everybody loves. There's lore, there's books, there's all this material that you have to work from, but you're going to go and make up some stuff and put a guy in a super suit who takes his helmet off, and Master Chief never takes his helmet off. And when he does take his helmet off, he looks like a model from a cologne commercial. He doesn't sound like John 117. He doesn't act like John 117. He's just a really handsome, well put together guy.
Does he have the voice? Does he have the voice from the game or anything
He doesn't
like
have
that?
the voice from the game.
Wow.
It was complete crap. And I understand Paramount, they did the second. If you've never played a Halo game, you might like this. I have played a Halo game. It would be like taking Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader, Princess Leia, Han Solo, well, maybe not Han Solo, Chewbacca, and putting them in Indiana Jones. It just that bad. I don't want to say anything else about it because I feel like I'm about to throw up in my mouth. So that's my lump of coal. So let's go around with the best Christmas present ever.
Give me just a second. Don't pull. I'm typing something real quick.
Okay.
So go ahead and go on.
We're gonna go counterclockwise. Well, I guess we can't go counterclockwise because Brandon's typing. So we're gonna go to the Beer Ninja. Hiya! What is your ultimate Christmas present, and who are you giving it to for 2022?
Let's see. My ultimate Christmas present. Taken back to my childhood. At the time, I did not see it as an ultimate Christmas present, but looking back in hindsight, it was an ultimate Christmas present. And that would have been the original Masters of the Universe Snake Mountain. I think that'd be my ultimate one. So Snake Mountain, and I'd probably give that gift to who's really done well for me. Let's see. I'd like to probably give it to Square Enix for the Final Fantasy series and how they've come along with it and everything. And I'm looking forward to a lot of their games. Matter of fact, I just got done playing. I just procured a PS5 just a few weeks ago, finally. And the first game I decided to buy was Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion, which was actually a game originally on the Sony PSP. I never got to play that game. Well, they remastered it. I put it on. It was a great game. And I was like, these guys are just going places. They're really doing right with their remasters, remakes, whatever you want to call it. So I'm really enjoying it. So my gift goes out to Square Enix.
Yeah, I seen the thing on that video, YouTube video. I guess Final Fantasy 16 is in the works.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one games I've never really got into. So I'm not a big fan unless it's changed. I'm not a fan of the turn-based play styles per se.
Yeah.
So
I love turn-based. I mean, I'll still play it if we can. I don't mind how they're going with the directions they are right now, but I started off playing the Final Fantasy series on the original Nintendo with the first one and everything. Loved the game, hours put through and everything. And I remember one day, I think my cousin accidentally deleted my game, and wow. And eventually I think I went back and played it and beat it and everything, but then they just keep coming out with different ones and then different developers and different platforms it would come out on and everything. So I mean, they're global, definitely. So
Well, Brandon, I'm sorry, go ahead, buddy.
So you looking forward to the new Final Fantasy, Tim? 16?
I am looking forward to it. And I don't know much about it or anything, but looking at the trailers and everything, it looks like it's just going to be a gorgeous, wonderful game. And I could see myself playing hours on end with it, especially on my days off and everything and doing that. I'm also looking forward to hopefully it come out this year. And this is one of the main reasons why I procured a PS5 was because they decided to go with Final Fantasy VII, and a couple of years back they made the first video game for it. They're making it episodic, so the next one's coming up, and I want to say it's called Rebirth, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and that's one of my games that I'm looking out for 2023.
Well, Brandon, who gets your ultimate Christmas present for 2022 for their performance?
So my ultimate Christmas gift for 2022, the one thing I always looked forward to when I was growing up was my first CD player / boombox. I was probably about third grade when I got that, and I would give that award to. I admit I haven't been much into video games over the last year. I played, dabbled in them, just never got really in depth into them, got more into TVs and movies and stuff like that. But I'm going to go with, on the TV side, with the Amazon Prime streaming series, The Terminal List, starring Chris Pratt.
Ooh.
I was a little hesitant getting into it first because I'm thinking, we all know Chris Pratt, Guardians of the Galaxy. He's more of a comical. Don't think he could really get in, but play a serious role. I watched The Tomorrow War with him and thought he actually did a pretty decent job with that.
That was a good movie.
So they came out with a series on Amazon Prime called The Terminal List, and he played a Navy SEAL, and it gets into his unit gets ambushed and all the conspiracies that fall around that. And I honestly felt like Chris Pratt pulled that off. I mean, it was even good enough that I enjoyed the series enough that I went and bought the book for the second book so I could read ahead before they came out with the actual season 2 of the series. And there's like 4 books in this series, and it follows him as he goes off and does his stuff. So, and it's more along the lines of the genre stuff that I'm into, the more anti-terrorism and combat stuff like that. So, but yeah, I would give my ultimate Christmas gift to Amazon Prime series, The Terminal List, with starring Chris Pratt. So if you guys haven't checked it out and like those kind of series, I definitely would recommend it. 8 episodes. They go starts off from the get-go pretty good, and it gets going from there, and it's pretty good.
Sweet.
So it's already one of those things I'm already looking for. Keep updating on Google to find out when season 2 is going to come out.
All right. Well, my Christmas gift that I looked forward to, it was about 3 years in a row because we kept breaking them, was the Tyco racetrack. Little Tyco racetrack where you had the little trigger controller and you had to slow it down a little bit so that your car didn't fly off into the weeds. They didn't tell you not to run that on carpet. We had carpet in every room in the house. So every year, the Tyco racetrack barely ever made it to New Year's. We get it for Christmas, and it was messed up by New Year's.
You talking about the little slot cars that fall in that little slot? And
oh yeah, you had it where it could run up the wall because you had to go fast enough to run up the wall, otherwise it fly off. And if you ran it too fast, when it run up the wall, it hit the ceiling, and then Mama would start yelling at us.
Did you have cats or anything like that? Because that was actually kind of fun to watch when we had them, just seeing how cats would behave towards it and everything going after it.
No, we never had cats. My mom and my dad hated cats.
My mom and dad had cats. I never really was a cat person, but it was always kind of fun just screwing around with them because back then that was our laser beam for the cats back in the 80s, you know?
But I am giving the Tyco racetrack to Diego Luna and Tony Gilroy for Andor. I know certain people didn't care for Andor. I absolutely loved it. It was high intrigue. It was really almost a political type thriller. When you see how the formation of the rebellion took place, I thought it was wonderfully acted. Diego Luna is fantastic. I haven't seen him in anything bad. I watched him in Narcos Mexico, and he was phenomenal. I thoroughly enjoyed the series. I am really, really Stellan Skarsgård. My goodness, he was fantastic. I don't know the name of the lady who played Marva or Bix, but the show is just it really starts to draw all these tendrils together. And with Star Wars, we started off with the rebellion. We didn't have any idea how they come into being. It was just, oh look, there's these kids. They're trying to stop this tyrannical government. You never know how that came into being. And Rogue One and Andor really start to build that universe, per se. It's not just movies now, it's TV shows. And the TV shows are really fleshing out the universe, or the universes of how Star Wars became this global phenomenon. And I am absolutely 10 toes down for it. I absolutely love it. So a Tyco racetrack to you, Mr. Luna, and a Tyco racetrack to you, Mr. Gilroy.
I'm going to go on eBay and look for one of those.
Oh, yeah.
I bet they're sought after now. I bet they are.
And now I want to borrow somebody's cat to see what they do with the race car.
I mean, you watch cats, they just watch it like a hawk. Just going all around and looking around, and then they wait for they go in for the kill and everything. But yeah, that was our fun. That was our entertainment.
I still want to go find a good quality track. I mean, you could go find the cheap ones that are like $10 or $20, and but I want one of those ones that I wanted when I grew up. Parents wouldn't get because they cost too much money. With the cool cars and the tracks and stuff like that. So
sounds like compound goals.
Compound goals. Yeah, I know. I was hoping I would win enough money I win the Powerball or the Mega Millions on Friday and start my compound shopping in Texas in the next couple of weeks, but that ain't gonna happen. So go back to we were talking about Halo. On our Facebook Messenger and our Facebook group Messenger, I did an impromptu poll and I got a response from I haven't got his permission to use his actual name, so I'm gonna go by his nickname of B-Rock. And the question I asked, impromptu poll, who liked the Halo series on Paramount Plus? We are recording. We'd like to have some quick responses. So B-Rock replied, he said he liked it. And he said here's where he said he liked it. He said it became more likable when they came out and said it was an alternate universe. So that may be part of it. Now, was that their intention from the get-go, or was it they used that excuse, it bombed, and Halo fans were revolting, and they needed somebody came up with, we in an alternate universe.
So they went to the multiverse route with that theory at that point. Oh man, show ain't doing so well right now. Oh yeah, it's an alternate universe. That's right. This is how Halo
Master Chief fight Kang the Conqueror.
I mean, I could have probably come up with a better excuse of why it was terrible.
Wow,
that would explain the whole underwear model look thing, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember who was he. I'm trying to think. Did he do anything? The main character. Did he do anything before Pablo Schneider? What did?
It was,
What was?
he was probably
Was
on
he
one
in
of
it?
those Netflix fake love shows.
I mean, if you look at his IMDb picture, he looks totally different than he does as Master Chief. Okay, he was in the movie 13 Hours. He was in Orange is the New Black. Is the two big things. And he also was in Skyscraper with The Rock. Now I know who he is because I do like the movie 13 Hours. So, yeah.
Orange is the New Black was actually a pretty good series.
Never got into it. Unfortunately, one of the characters from that series passed away a few weeks ago. He was I actually liked him from some of the other movies he was in. He played a character in the Paramount Plus rendition of the Stephen King's The Stand. So, yeah, as of right now, that was the only response we got back on that from B-Rock. Thank you, B-Rock, for your quick response. So, yeah, I mean, it's pretty bad when you're up to it. You bomb on a series that has years upon years of canon, and you still can't even get it right. I mean,
I'll just kind of circle back to the whole Assassin's Creed thing too. They made a movie out of that, and that movie was horrible. I mean, Netflix should have probably taken over something because you can't explain Assassin's Creed in one movie. You know, you just can't. I don't know where they were coming up with the idea for it or anything. Maybe they were just trying to reach out to a broader audience or a different audience or something like that. It seems like a lot of these movies they come out with video games, it's not really more aimed towards the fans, you know, the ones that made it big.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's just like you have all this source material, and then you unfortunately get these writers or these directors who want to impose creative control and say, here you go, here's what I come up with, and it's nothing what the source material is. And I think that's part of the reason. I mean, one of that some of these we were mentioning earlier, and this is probably something we're going to talk about in a future episode, is the crossover between movies and video games and vice versa. Is unfortunately you get too many people who, instead of sticking with the material and making a great story, they get in and do creative control. And unfortunately, these people are not true fans of the series or what they're developing, and they go off on their own tangent. It's like, I mean, I'll give you a prime example. When Disney took over Star Wars, they announced almost immediately that they were wiping the canon. And that was completely thrown out the window. And over years, there was years of books that official books that followed the timeline. At the time, it was Return of the Jedi before the prequels had come out and stuff. There was a book, it was called after Return of the Jedi, the next point in the timeline was a book called Heir to the Empire. And it goes along, and it carried on, and if I'm not mistaken, I never finished it. I got kind of into it, and it's just I could not get into a Star Wars book. Unfortunately, it wasn't the type of book I was interested in at the time. But if I'm not mistaken, that's where they got the idea of the clones for Palpatine in the last movie, was because as they go into that movie, they found out he had clones, and he was strong enough with the dark side of the Force to be able to take his force and put it into a clone and control the clone.
I've read the books.
It was, I mean, Heir to the Empire, just reading the book and doing some research on it would have been good enough to continue with the next movie in the series. And you would have still been able to have the Luke, and then you still had Han and Leia's relationship and their kids, and goes on. And it was just, there was so much that they dropped the ball on because they wanted to go off and do their own creative thing, thinking they're do work. And now you've got Star Wars fans who are hesitant to watch another Star Wars movie. You might actually have a Star Wars movie that comes out in the theaters and nobody wants to go see it. because
No,
they're
they're
afraid
already
it's gonna
talking
be
about
another-
Ryan Johnson. Yeah, they're already talking. Ryan Johnson wants to do another trilogy and all that. It's like, no,
Mm-mm.
no, absolutely
Don't
not.
let him near it.
I'll be honest with you. The last trilogy that came out for Star Wars, although they were entertaining, they were not necessary for the storyline at all. I do not consider them canon, to be honest with you. Matter of fact, I think I heard something about there was a petition out there that was going out to try to decanonize the movies. So I don't even know if that went into effect or if anything's going to come to fruition about that. But to me, I don't consider the last three part of the Star Wars, just as much as I don't consider the Christmas special one as well. So if they can decanonize that, they can do these last three episodes. That's my soapbox.
There's been talks. I think Filoni and who's the other guy? Favreau. They're wanting to retcon the trilogies, and they want the ability to go through and redo them. And
those guys
honestly,
are going to save Star
Wars. They're saving them with the series and the animated stuff they're doing now. I mean, Mandalorian's really good. Now you've got Andor. I personally have not seen it yet. Yeah, they're working on stuff going on, and I think the new Ashoka series coming out.
Yeah, that's this year.
Yeah, so those guys right there are keeping the Star Wars afloat because of what Disney did, and unfortunately, at some point, being Disney is going to come out and boot them two off because some new up and coming star director or somebody is going to come up with something that's going to. Kathleen Kennedy is going to be like, "Oh, that sounds pretty cool. I'm going to have you do the next series," and it's going to bomb. They need to let those two do free reign and let them fix it.
I think Disney went back to Bob Iger, who is, from what I've read, is a Star Wars guy. It is my sincere hope that he allows Favreau and Filoni, neither one of those guys are spring chickens, if he allowed them to do the Heir to the Empire series. That's where you get, I believe Thrawn was introduced in that series, Grand Admiral Thrawn. The love interest for Luke, which there actually ended up being one in that series, Mara Jade.
Mm-hmm.
And then Luke and Leia and Han did not have one baby; they had two. They had twins.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that was that book series. It's been 20 plus years since I read it, but it was a fantastic series, and I think it would have been a fantastic continuation to the legacy that Lucas built with the Star Wars movies. And maybe there's a lesson in this for people who want to make video games into movies. One, read the source material, understand the source material, and two, even if you've got to go and dig up fanfic, like fan fiction that people write on wherever fan fiction goes, make sure you stay true to the material, because if you release those movies, if you release the Heir to the Empire series, not only do you have a built-in fan base because it's a Star Wars movie, you have a dedicated and a fan base that is going to gravitate and love those movies, and you don't have some of the pushback that maybe you got with the prequels and with the and with, I don't know what you would call the last trilogy. You make better movies, and you make movies Star Wars fans enjoy.
Well, the issue they're going to run into now is, so if they want to go out and go back to it, since those movies happened not too long, or that portion of the timeline didn't happen too long after the timeline of Return of the Jedi, is, as far as I know, Mark Hamill is pretty much done with the series. Harrison Ford's definitely done. He ain't coming back for nothing. Unfortunately, Carrie Fisher's passed away. Peter Mayhew's gone, but I mean, they've got the other guy to replace him. Their characters are starting to get old and moving on, but how do you just recast them and just hopefully you can get enough makeup and face stuff to make them look as close to the original as possible? Or, I mean, how do you go about doing that now? That's the only downfall. I mean, granted, you got Sebastian Stan who could do. I mean, if you've seen the side-by-side pictures of him when he dresses up as Luke Skywalker, I mean, you can't tell a difference from Return of the Jedi Luke Skywalker and Sebastian Stan.
Well, how they did in
So-
the Mandalorian season 2 at the end when they brought in Luke Skywalker, like everybody just freaked out. Like granted, I'm pretty sure that was a pretty expensive scene or
It's
scenes, I should say.
It
But-
wasn't. It wasn't even actually Mark Hamill. It was some other actor with a CGI face.
Yeah.
So
Mhm. Exactly. I'm
It's a-
saying they could bring that in, like just how they did in Rogue One with Princess Leia. I mean, they could also pull that off too if they wanted to.
Well, I think it was more a budget thing because I remember Marvel. I mean, this is Marvel we're talking about. Marvel had issues with She-Hulk. They couldn't do all the She-Hulk scenes they wanted to do because the CGI to do those in a live action environment is so expensive.
Right.
And I'm going to throw this out here. What's wrong with making them animated?
well, they did do that one series on Disney Plus, the kind of like the anime version of it wasn't necessarily the main storyline. It was offshoots and stuff like that. But how Star Wars, it was in the Star Wars universe, but different people in the universe going through some of their plight, some of the Force users, and dealing with the Empire and some of the stuff. So, yeah, you could there was a few things that, I mean, the stuff is out there. It's just getting the right people to do it and do it right. I mean, it's gonna, and I'll fall back up when we get into our next topic here in a bit. And I'll go in a little bit more detail about one of my things about getting the right people, something I've been looking forward to, and I'm hoping we'll get some more news about it this year. But getting the right people, I mean, it's even the same thing with games. I mean, you see all the time when game developers and stuff that somebody leaves who was instrumental in developing the first game or the popular game or the hit game in that series, and that person either gets let go or moves on or whatever, and then they try to back it up, and that person that person's knowledge or creative ability is no longer visible there, and it just doesn't live up to expectations. So I think a lot of it is unfortunately the way Hollywood is these too many people want to put their creative fingerprint on something versus of doing it right.
Yep.
There's a way to do it, and I think you're already seeing it with Filoni and Favreau where they put their own fingerprint on it, but they're trying to keep it as close to Star Wars as you can with Star Wars. So
The good part about, I'm sorry, Tim, go ahead.
no, you're good.
I wasn't gonna say anything.
Okay, the good thing with that is I think we have enough people that are directors in the Star Wars universe that can actually crank out solid material. You've got Filoni and Favreau. You've got Robert Rodriguez, who is still relatively young. You have Taika Waititi, who has cranked out some stuff for Star Wars, who can direct some of the series and stuff like that. So there are enough people, good people, I guess you could say. But if I'm Bob Iger, if I'm the people who oversee Star Wars, I don't let Rian Johnson near a single thing. He couldn't play with a lightsaber at his house, as far as I was concerned. Just get him out. Episode 7 was it was one of those where it was almost like when you left the second Matrix movie after Neo has a conversation with Colonel Sanders, and you're just, what was that? What in the world was that? And that's how I felt after watching episode 7.
Well, and J.J. Abrams, I mean, the problem is it almost with the last 3 episodes of the series, they did not have everything planned out. It was like, okay, we'll make the first one, and then after the first one gets done, we'll see how it does. Oh, then okay. Now we got to come up with a storyline for a second. Well, then they get a whole different team on it, and then that team comes up with something. And by the time you get to the third one, it's just like a 2-year-old could scribble on a piece of paper and say, "Here you go. Here's a script for the next trilogy of Star Wars." It would have been a better script.
Mm-hmm.
It was just so. It wasn't Star Wars.
No.
Let's just put it that way. And unfortunately, us growing up in the age where the 70s and the 80s and 90s, all the way up into the prequels, when we grew up on the originals, that was what everybody revolved around back then. And then we've been waiting and waiting and waiting. And then sadly, the prequels were better than the last trilogy.
Yep.
So,
of course,
and
this is a matter of opinion and everything, because just think about it. These last 3 that came out, that's going to be some other kids' memories. That's going to be some other future adults' memories of their memories of Star Wars and everything. True. And I get that. You know, it's just not my cup of tea. So,
but
yeah, and I think you get down to with the whole thing is, yeah, you're right that you're going to have some of this younger generation who didn't grow up on the originals or the prequels, and see this is hopefully it wasn't. Hopefully it was still good enough for them that we continue the generation of Star Wars fans versus. I mean, you see now movies nowadays, and it's like that movie sucked, and it's like, okay, whatever, I'm done with that or whatever. And you don't want. I'm afraid that if they keep making bad movies, are you going to turn away the fan base, and then eventually in 20 years, the fandom's going to die off? I mean,
but coming to a kind of putting a period at the end of this, if you're watching the podcast or you're listening to the podcast, let us know what you think. Who deserves your lump of coal? Who deserves your awesome Christmas present? How was your 2022, and what and looking forward? What are you excited about for 2023? I mean, it's just the 3 of us guys talking to each other. We'd like to know what you think. So please leave your comments. All of the media we have are listed right here below. We are excited to hear from you and watch this thing grow and get into a discussion.
Yeah, and occasionally while we're recording too, there might be an impromptu poll on our Facebook Messenger for the people in that Messenger group as well.
Keep an eye on that.
We do have a Facebook page, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, email, and eventually at some point we are going to get the website up and running. So, yeah, after watching this, feel free to leave a comment. And also, too, we also will be posting videos and stuff, asking questions about looking for input for our next topic, too, for our next show. And as we get far along in the show, we'll announce what our next big topic is and go from there. And then we love your input. And just let us know if we can actually use your name in it or you want to keep you anonymous. So make sure you let us know. If we're going to use it, we'll make sure we get the permission from you as well. So
awesome.
So going on to our next topic, we've done our lump of coal. The best Christmas gift is our 2022 year in review. Anything that we like and didn't like, or even some stuff that surprised us. I mean, it's January, start of a new year. This is what everybody does. Is just go back and the highs and lows of the previous year. Anybody want to start with this? Anything?
I will give a big high to the game High on Life. It was I got stopped by one of my coworkers who is a gamer, and she said, you have to play this game. And kind of struck me as okay. And went and checked it out. It is absolutely hilarious. It is so much fun. It was one of those games that not only was it not on my radar, I didn't even know it was coming out. I didn't even know it was on Game Pass. It was just, I'll check it out, see what she was talking about. And I have absolutely thoroughly enjoyed that game. Belly laughs on belly laughs on belly laughs playing that game.
Yeah, apparently my son got an achievement that said he spent 15 hours in the Alien Strip Club. Yeah, they have the 15 hours in an Alien Strip Club achievement for Xbox.
Excellent.
Yeah, so just when you get to that point, just make sure you be careful around the strip club. Yeah, I gotta get back into it. Like I said, I haven't really played it much since I defeated the first boss in the slums, and haven't really got back into it. But I do need to get back into it. So
it gets so much funnier. Just so much funny.
Oh, I've watched some videos of it on YouTube of some different scenes and stuff from the game, and I'm just like, oh, like the trolley scene that I was watching. It was like, you see that meme all the time. You've got a trolley coming down the track and it splits, and you can either kill one person or you can kill 5 people. Which one do you choose? And yeah, it gets pretty funny because some of those characters that are tied up to the track give you some interesting reasons why the train needs to come through their side versus whatever. So yeah, kind of some interesting conundrums with that game. So anything else? Because for that, Kevin? Because I know
that really. I mean, obviously, Kenobi was fantastic. I loved Andor. I still have a backlog of movies I didn't see during this last year. I still hadn't seen the Christmas special for Guardians of the Galaxy. I still hadn't watched Eternals even. I hadn't watched a single DC movie. I really want to watch a Batman. I'm kind of behind on my backlog of stuff, and as far as games, High on Life really stands out. I'm playing through Ragnarok. Ragnarok is phenomenal. It's a beautiful continuation of the story. It is. It's one of the reasons why video games need to be episodic series, and not movies. There's no way you can encapsulate all of that material, all of that story in a single movie, or maybe even a series of movies. This needs to be something episodic. So I hope to God, whoever gets their hands on the story of Kratos, if you decide to turn this into some sort of alternative media project, please make it episodic, and please give it more than one season. And please follow the source material, as we discussed earlier.
Yeah, staying to source material.
Mm-hmm.
So, Tim, you got anything for your 2022 year in review?
Man, you know, as far as like, you know, TV series and everything goes, I haven't really been watching a whole lot of TV. I've mostly just been gaming and everything. As far as like what really stood out, like I said, I'm kind of a Mandalorian fan, so I thought that was really cool and everything. As far as games go, one game, it didn't come out in 2022, but it came out in 2021 that really took me by surprise, and I really think it's an underrated game, was actually Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, I could not stop playing it. It was actually recommended to me by Kevin, and I was like, okay, I'll just give it a shot, try it out. So I started playing it, and you really start to invest your time in knowing these characters. And I was like, I've seen the movies, you know, and I enjoyed them. But to be honest with you, I think this game was better than the movies in a lot of aspects. It had everything I wanted in the game. You know, it had action, it had, you know, a storyline, it had nostalgia, and especially about when it came to like the 80s and everything. So that game actually really took me by surprise, and I just don't think it gets the credit that it really deserves. So if you're out there and you guys are hearing this right now, you know, A+, kudos to you guys. Great game.
That was a Square Enix game too, wasn't it?
I don't know, to be honest with you. Let's
I think
see
that
here.
was a Square Enix game, so kudos to them.
Yeah. So somebody made, whoever made it, it was just great. I mean, that to me, that was an awesome game. High on Life. I've been playing High on Life too. I was like, you know, I'm a late bloomer when it came to watching the Rick and Morty series and everything. So I started watching that with my son and everything, and just, you know, laughing my ass off and stuff. So I'm like, I want to see more of this stuff. So as soon as I started playing the first 30 seconds of the game, I was already laughing my ass off. You know, so I'm having fun with it. I kind of slowed down on it because I've been trying to play more PS5 or PlayStation games and stuff, but I do want to get back into that. One of the games I really want to get back into is Detroit Become Human. For whatever reason, the copy I have is just not working right, so I got to get a new one. But so far, what I've played, it is a gorgeous, gorgeous game. As far as any other games I've played, I've been mostly trying to play some indie games because, you know, I think they their games really do stand out in a lot of ways. You know, they focus more on customer feedback and everything, how they can make a game even better. So I've been playing some indie games on and off there. So that's been a kind of a surprising event for me right there. And I guess that's really what I've been into right now at this point. You know, so I'm kind of taking advantage of Xbox Game Pass, you know, with all the free games that they have on there and everything, just trying to discover that hidden gem. And there's actually quite a few hitters on there, and then there's some misses too. I mean, I'll definitely give them that. But it's been actually a good experience so far, and I'm really looking forward to 2023 with the upcoming games that are coming out. 2023 is going to rock when it comes to video games. There's no doubt, no question in my mind about that. So yeah.
Speaking of Game Pass, me and Kevin were talking about this when we were playing Xbox together yesterday, just kind of chit chatting. Have you noticed, Tim? Noticed that it seems like Game Pass has slowed down on releasing new games the last couple of weeks? Because if you
Possibly.
we were discussing this. There's just nothing coming out because it's just after the holidays, or is there something else going on with Game Pass that is the new flow of games is just kind of dried up lately?
I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, I think it has to do with licensing and everything with the games, you know. But not only that, 2023 just started off. It's going to kick off even more, and I think we're going to see some in between games that are coming through. I think Game Pass is actually going to flourish more into games as the year goes along. I think we're going to see a big improvement over it at that point. So that's just my opinion right there. Hopefully, I'm right.
And there's a big PlayStation game that's dropping, I think, next week, Forspoken. I don't know if they tried to get it out for the holiday or not, but it is coming out. I played the demo for it. Like more of a magic spellcasting type game. But it is gorgeous. It is absolutely beautiful. The gameplay is good. I mean, it's a little bit frustrating because there are some platforming elements, which I hate at this point. I'm part of my old age is I get frustrated by platforming games, but it is a beautiful game to play. So if you have an opportunity to check out the demo, it's going to be a big hitter to kick off 2023 for PlayStation.
Mm-hmm. It's coming out this month, isn't it?
Next week, I think the 24th, I believe.
Next week? Okay. Yeah, because the demo's still on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I just noticed that it's like you go into the brand new or the new game stuff on or new game list on Game Pass, and like yesterday morning I looked into it because about every day I go and look see if there's anything new, and apparently after so long a game's been on there, it drops off the new list, and there was only 3 games posted in there, and I've never seen it that low before. So I'm just kind of
curious. This is why I'm a collector of video games. You know, this is exactly why I'm a collector of video games. I have an extreme long list backlog, if you want to call it, of video games right there. So if nothing's coming out on Game Pass or nothing new's coming out, I got plenty of fillers to fall back on, things that I've been trying to catch up on and everything. You know, I've been playing games like Alan Wake, great game. Bayonetta, the first one, it was a great game. I've been playing some of the newer games. I played a game called The Medium. I recommend that game to anyone. That's probably another game that really surprised the hell out of me there with The Medium. You know, just trying to catch up on all the things. Vanquish, like a lot of 360 games. Like, you know, if you can't find any entertainment or value right now on Game Pass and everything, and you are a collector, then, you know, I encourage people to go back and just finish up with their backlog and everything. That way you have something more to talk about and just kind of compare other games to. Absolutely.
Okay, so moving on to me, well, my list or my stuff that surprised me or really enjoyed of 2022. I mean, go back, like I mentioned, for my Christmas gift was the Terminal List with Chris Pratt. I thought that was a phenomenal series. And then, because like I said, I haven't been really into video games as much this past year. I got more into TV and streaming and just watching the different stuff and watching different shows I've never really sat down and watched. Amazon Prime also had another series based off of the books, Jack Reacher. There was 2 Tom Cruise movies made, but if you kind of know the backstory of Jack Reacher, Tom Cruise doesn't fit the character profile. I mean, if you read the books, the character is like 6'6", 280 pounds of solid muscle, and you've got 5'10" Tom Cruise. I mean, granted, Tom
I
Cruise
don't
could
think
play
he's
the
5'10".
stuff. You got Tom Cruise who could play, who could act it, but the guy that got to play Jack Reacher in this series, it made it really good. From the get-go all the way to the end, it was just phenomenal. And I know a lot of people have read, I know my dad has read all the books the authors wrote about Jack Reacher and stuff. So, and I know season 2 is in the works. So I'm looking forward to that at some point. One of the games I did get into, I'm an F1 Formula One racing fan. They did come out with a strategy game called F1 Manager 2022, where you're basically the leader of an F1 team, and you basically are making all the decisions on which upgrades to develop, race strategies and stuff like that. So it's so far I played a few races into it, dabbled in a little bit. It's actually fun. I do like the strategy game because it does get you thinking. It's like, okay, and I picked off what I figured I'm gonna go for the challenge instead of taking me. I'm a Ferrari fan. I like the Ferrari F1 team. At Must See Audio, if you hear this, yes, I do like Ferrari. If you ever listen to it, you know. But I picked up the American team Haas. They're definitely one of the bottom feeder teams every year. So it's more of a little bit of a challenge, but I wanted the challenge to work my way up through the ranks to get up to that, to get the position in the higher tier teams. And probably one of my favorite moments of 2022 is being a sports fan is my Colorado Avalanche winning the Stanley Cup. Yeah, got a rep. So, yeah, that's my 2022 year in review. It was a pretty exciting year. Granted, not as much into the video games or movies and stuff. Top Gun was a good movie. Top Gun Maverick. So, but yeah, that's my 2022 review.